This morning, we found out that the Bank of Canada has held the key interest rate at 4.5%. Now, this is something that a lot of people thought was going to happen because they publicly said that they've conditionally paused the rate hikes. But I think TIFF had a lot of thinking to do, because if you think really what we've seen recently with the job numbers that were way higher than we were expecting, we've seen real estate markets bounce back in many pockets of Canada, that I think they really had to think what they were doing here. Because we've had 8 rate hikes in a row. We have to remember where we started. We started with the overnight rate at 0.25%. We are now at 4.5%. And anyone with a variable rate is probably very happy today because they've been feeling the pain the last little while. But we also have to think about the fact that, is this impacting buyers today? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Tom Storey. I make educational real estate videos about the Canadian market with a specific focus on Toronto. If you find any value in this video, all I ask is that you hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already and join our growing community. We're on the road to 10,000. After watching this video, if you want to book an appointment directly with me, you can go into the first link in the description and book a buyer call, a seller call, or a discovery call to chat about the market. So the conditional pause is in effect. We've stayed at what we were previously from that January 25th announcement. But now we have to figure out, well, what are the repercussions of today's announcements? Because the Fed in the States and Powell have been very clear that they will continue to hike to fight inflation. And because Canada is now falling a little bit behind on our interest rates compared to the States, how is that going to impact our dollar? And this puts Canada in a very tricky position, because the famous saying is, don't fight the Fed. Our dollar, as of recording this video, is 73 cents. What if we get to 65 cents? What if it goes lower? That's not going to be good for our economy. To my understanding, the last time the Canadian dollar dipped below 65 cents to the American dollar was in 2001. And the inflation numbers in Canada have been positive, right? But we are still a long way to go to get to that 2% target. Okay, so now that we know that they've held the rate, let's talk about how this is going to impact today's market. Because the February real estate numbers in the market I work in Toronto were very encouraging if compared obviously to January and December and really November and going back all the way to mid last year. But they were very discouraging year over year, and that is something that we've talked about in previous videos. But it seems like from that January 25th announcement that consumer confidence is slowly building back up, right? Our sales numbers are kind of back on trend, what we saw in 2019. We're never going to see what we saw in 2021 again for probably a long, long time. Is today's announcement going to push the market up even more, right? It's such a hard, tricky situation here, because buyers hearing that Bank of Canada has held are going like, okay, we know rates are at least going to kind of stay the same for a little bit of time here. We can go make a financial decision. What I'm also hoping it does is it helps bring more listings to the market. A lot of sellers are not coming to the market because they're not getting prices that they're really interested in. Hopefully this will show them that, hey, buyers are back, and maybe it's a decent time because we desperately need more good inventory in pockets of Canada that people actually want to buy in. And I've talked about this in other videos, but even if Bank of Canada had increased today by 0.25 or something like that, would that actually impact buyers in today's market? I don't know too many people, unless you're buying for some reason to keep a property less than 2 years, that are taking variable right now to have that lower penalty. Most of our clients are taking that fixed rate anywhere between 1 year to 3 years, because we do think that rates are going to come down in the future. But the million-dollar question is, when is that actually going to happen? We've been lucky enough on our podcast channel that we had Brandon Ogmanson on, and he's the senior chief economist for the TRREB. And one thing that he had talked about with us is that, Bank of Canada's target rate, if inflation's back to 2%, is somewhere between 2 and 3 for the overnight rate. We're at 4.5. So we do know that rate cuts will come, but are they going to come in 2023? Unlikely at this point. Are we going to push into early 2024, maybe mid 2024? I think that's more realistic for what we're seeing today. And I'd really be interested to know what you think about today's announcement. Please comment below about how you're feeling about this, how this is potentially going to impact you. I'd be very curious to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching this video. My name is Tom Storey, and remember, home is where your story begins.